Welcome to Reclaimed Heritage,
a place where we discuss traditional skills for the practical home.
We're your hosts, Christy,
Kari,
and Elaine.
In today's episode, we have our very first special guest, Candace Bauer. We're going to be discussing urban farming, and she is an expert in this area. She's done it for many years, and we look forward to hearing from her.
It was not enough of a garden, her father said, to plow, so she had to work it all by hand, but she don't mind now. She wheeled the dung in a wheelbarrow along a stretch of road, but she always ran away and left her not nice load, and hid from anyone passing, and then she begged the seed. She says she thinks she planted one, of all things but weed. A hill each of potatoes, radishes, lettuce, peas, tomatoes, beets, beans, pumpkins, corn, and even fruit trees. And yes, she has long mistrusted that a cider apple in bearing there today is hers, or at least may be. Her crop was a miscellany when all was said and done, a little bit of everything, a great deal of none. Now when she sees in the village how village things go, just when it seems to come in right, she says, I know, it's as when I was a farmer. Oh, never by way of advice, and she never sins by telling the tale to the same person twice. A Girl's Garden by Robert Frost.
Welcome back. This is Season 2, Episode 6, where we will be discussing gardening, specifically urban gardening, or gardening in smaller spaces.
And how exciting. We have our very first guest.
I know. It's exciting. It's Candace Bauer, who happens to be a good friend of all of ours, so...
And their number one fan.
Well, I don't know. There is a few people that would argue with you, one of them being
I'll take
Christy's father-in-law.
Nope.
I'm thinking, who's she going to say? Oh, Papa. Yeah.
It is. You know it is.
She gets relinquished it easy. She's like, meh.
Yeah.
Your kids, I would argue with them. I would not.
No, you're so sweet because I love that you play it while your kids are in the car. My kids mostly don't even listen. My big kids sometimes, but I love that your kids get to listen to us talk every week. So
My oldest enjoys it.
Who does?
Austin.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
He enjoys it.
Well, I'll sign something for him the next time I see him.
Sign my hand. Like everybody should sign my hand. I'll take him. After I just grounded Selah for riding all over her hand.
Oh, you do that too? I hate that. Tell me what your reasoning is. Like, no, what to them? What do you say to them why they can't write on their hand?
I let it go for a while to see if it was a phase, and they have, what's that special ink that you can use? Henna.
Okay.
That's one thing, but I don't like it to be seen. I don't like it on your skin at church or where we go someplace nice, but it always evolves into ballpoint pen ink everywhere, and they have friends that do it, and I finally said recently, no more. Don't do it. I don't want to see it. And today she came home from co-op covered, and I'm like, you're grounded. So,
The Candace Bauer tagline.
Yes.
I can't wait to say it at graduation. You're gone and you're grounded.
Well, we might be a little rusty today. We've had a few weeks off, which was nice. So, that
Was
was
it?
Some of us who were
nice.
traveling, all over Europe.
Yes.
I missed you all a lot.
Oh, that's so
You're
sweet.
very sweet.
I missed us too. Well, I missed coming here. But
We tried to get it in before. It's my fault before I left for vacation, but it just didn't work out. So hopefully you guys are ready for us to be back. So vacation was lovely. I was ready to come home. It was 2 weeks with many adult children and my son-in-law and my mother, and it was awesome. But the food, the thing that I told everybody, like when I came back, and B, when we called or texted, doesn't make you feel sick. It's very strange. I don't know what they do differently over there.
Is it?
I'm
Is
telling
it strange?
you. It is pretty unbelievable. And I mean, like, we didn't eat different things. We ate a lot of the same things here. Like, we had fried food. I ate all the gluten.
I keep my tinfoil hat under here, Candace.
Well, their
heard
food
you have
regulations are different.
Their food
what they're allowed
regulations
to
are
use
different.
is different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you don't think it's going to be a big deal.
Is different.
But it is a very big deal. So, Lauren, my daughter, who also usually is gluten-free and is like, actually, you're here, so I'm going to ask you, but you didn't complain. So she gets very sick. Like, people don't know this, but literally she cannot eat a meal. It doesn't matter how big or how small, gluten-free or not, without being sick. She experiences, like, very abnormal bloating that is extremely painful.
You're still sick from that?
From eating today, like being back in the United States.
That was some of the first gluten I had. Well,
yeah, but the whole time we were there, you didn't complain one time about having a stomach ache or feeling bloated.
Well,
but we ate, and I'm saying like, her and I had been like completely gluten free prior to leaving, and when I went there, we didn't just like come off of gluten slightly. Like we ate all the gluten,
all the bread, all the baguettes,
all the pastries, all the desserts.
When in Paris,
bun, like every bun you can imagine. I had pasta. Like I ate straight up pasta dishes. I think for 3 of the meals, nothing. It doesn't have any effect. It is the craziest thing. So
I said I'm never moving again, but maybe.
I know. But those reels you see about the people who are like have celiac and things like that, or Crohn's, and they end up like moving to Italy because they can like live normal. I believe it. It's not a joke. It's crazy. Now there are plenty of other things about Europe that you can keep. Most of it, in fact.
I'm really feeling the call to mission work in Europe. I think our church may need to relocate to Paris. They need Jesus in Paris, right?
So first of all, we couldn't afford it, and second of all, I would say they need more mission work over there. So that part was pretty evident.
Jesus
also.
Everywhere.
They need affordable water there too, as well, right?
You guys,
And potties.
you have to pay for the bathroom and pay for water, and those were the thing. Like we expect.
That seems counterproductive.
Oh, it's insane. Well, that's why we figured out this is why they all drink so much wine and drink beer, because no joke, beer's cheaper than water. It's cheaper. So why wouldn't you drink beer? Like, Michael was thrilled.
Oh my goodness.
Been waiting to ask you about that.
Oh yes, he ordered beer everywhere we went. And he loved it. You could drink it open on the bus. Like we're driving on these tour buses, and like the driver of the bus has beer in the cooler for you to purchase and drink while you're.
I thought you were going to say he was drinking the beer while driving.
Maybe.
Was waiting.
But yeah, no, it was crarazy.
And it's not a new thing. It's not because of inflation. They're charging for bathrooms. I was there 21 years ago, and we had to pay to use the restroom.
It's crazy. So
It
some
was crazy.
significant differences, but the water one really, we were not prepared for paying for water.
Right.
But anyways, good to be back.
Yeah.
So,
Well, speaking of food, and we're going to talk about gardening, what is your favorite vegetable, fruit that you get out of your garden that you harvest? It's a must-have. It's your favorite. Maybe not your kid's favorite, but
Hands
your
down,
favorite.
tomatoes. Hands down.
Yeah.
I knew you were
We'll put
gonna
in
say
25 plants a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we have 2 gardens where I switch them back and forth, and hands down.
I was going to say cherry tomatoes because those are just
Put them
easily
on the
like
outside
snack,
so the kids can eat them without
Right.
going in.
Yeah.
And hopefully the
Smart.
squirrels that eat my big stuff, they won't touch the cherries.
Okay,
But
let's
that's why
pause
it's all
right there.
outside.
Did you catch that? Cherry tomatoes go around the edge so the children do not go into the garden.
100%.
I love that. We have to.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you have been here like a week ago? I just planted my tomatoes, and I don't know that my cherry tomatoes are on the outside. They might be on the inside.
Yeah. I always put something, multiple things that are edible on the outside. So sugar snap,
peas.
asparagus, the cherry tomatoes, these cucamelons, which are like bite-sized cucumbers. Oh my gosh. And so any of those, and those things are really prolific. But,
I've never had the.
oh my goodness, they're adorable. They look like a
Yes.
little tiny, they look like a little tiny striped watermelon, actually. But their
You had
cucamelons
that
are
at my
like this
house.
big.
They're yellow at my. I grew. They were like kind of
lemon
yellowish.
ones.
Yeah.
They had what's the
We've had-
yield on those? Like,
Oh my gosh.
Is it more than what you get on a standard cucumber plant?
Oh heavens, yes.
Yes.
It's like a cherry tomato plant.
Yes.
They're like cherry tomatoes.
Maybe I need
size,
some
so.
seeds.
I'm gonna.
And they're viney, and they'll go a long
is
time.
amazing.
So
Do you have to
they're
order
so
those
good.
seeds? 'Cause I
So
probably can't
I
just
get
go-
most of my stuff through a grower in Clintonville. So she's got a little tiny yard, but she has a basement. So she starts everything from seed, and then she hardens it off outside, and she sells it around Mother's Day, depending on the weather.
Okay.
So I get my tomatoes, my peppers, and then other things that fancy me at the moment. So, like, I know I can start any squash from seed easily anytime. But if she has something fun like that cucamelon, I've never had that before.
Right.
And she has all kinds of peppers, all kinds of tomatoes. Like every year I get some of the same, but I always want something different. I love the variety of color. My big thing every year is making a ton of salsa at a time. And so the color and the flavor variety is what I love about it. And it's like gazpacho, really. It's pico, not salsa, but it's like gazpacho. It's cold, wonderful, yummy, lemony.
You have the
lime
best
zesty
salsa
as
I've ever
tomato.
had in
It's
my
so
entire
good.
life. My kids go crazy for it.
I
Like we
tomatoes
fight.
and I eat it.
We fight over your
tomatoes and I
salsa.
eat
Is it the variety of tomatoes you're
It is
using? You're
the
using
variety.
such a wide variety.
Yeah, it's not.
You
anything
spend
else.
a very long time making it, and everything is so finely diced. Like it's very uniform in nature, which is unusual for like a homemade salsa. But you always have the most
Could be
gorgeous
my years
array
in the
of
kitchen.
Yes,
But I am a way sloppier cutter now than I used to be. I tried one year to put it through the chopper, food process. Oh my gosh, it was a horrible texture. I did it one time. I will never do it again because I like the bits.
Yep.
I like the chunks, and Matt hates raw onions, but he will eat it in my salsa.
Okay, so I'm afraid this is going to turn into episode 6, all about tomatoes. But I have a question about this. So, what does your salsa look like? What are you putting in there? You just said
Cilantro.
Cilantro. How many varieties of tomatoes do you think you're doing?
Oh, well, it depends on what
Depends
comes
what
off.
you have.
It doesn't.
Okay.
So I easily, in 25 plants, I probably have 15 to 20 varieties. Like I will only
That's awesome.
double up on ones that are good producers that are my favorite. Mortgage Lifters, Kellogg's, Big Boys. There's some that I like for their texture, their color, their flavor. Austin's favorite is a green zebra or a tiger stripe, so he likes those. And they really aren't. I mean, just the variety of acid and color really just make it. It's not really so much me, and it's whatever comes off. So I might only have some of one until everything's putting off, and then you've got your determinate and your indeterminate. So some are putting off all summer, or not all summer, for months after they start, mid-July. End of July, beginning of August. But it just depends, So tomatoes, cilantro, garlic, always lemon and lime juice. I do both.
Lemon and lime.
Salt.
Jalapeno at all?
On occasion, it depends on my mood. Because a lot of people, like my mom, will eat my salsa, but she doesn't like spicy.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of depends on the mood. I don't intentionally ever make it spicy, and I might just put one in, like in a giant bowl like this. I might only put one in, and depends on my peppers. So I like to add my garden peppers, but I don't always do that because I do not like the pepper texture just for the sake of that, because I really love my tomatoes like gazpacho, meaning I can eat it like soup. I will eat bowls of it. It's so delicious. The right amount of salt, and it doesn't stay that way. So I make it, and I'm like, this is delicious. And then like a day later, if I give it without taste testing it first, I might be sorry because it might need more salt or more acid.
Right,
I
'cause it
rarely
breaks down.
will do more. Rarely do more garlic or cilantro, but those are the two things that I would adjust day to day. But
it's amazing. You can eat it with a spoon.
and if I get down to a week or more and I still have it, the tomatoes are breaking down pretty quick because of the acid and the acid in the tomatoes. So I freeze it and put it in chili later. Because you don't want it like that. I'm not you guys all talk about canning and freezing. I freeze everything. I hate canning just because of the process, and I've done it, but I prefer to freeze. But I would never eat frozen salsa. But I'll put it in chili.
Right.
Put it in my chili all day long, or vegetable soup or something. So
Yeah.
My mom does it in her Johnny Marzetti too.
I would
So
do
make
that.
it like a Texas mac.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that an Ohio thing? Because I don't
Johnny
even know
Marzetti.
what you just said.
Johnny
A
Marzetti.
what? A Johnny Marzetti? What is a Johnny Marzetti?
It's elbow macaroni noodles, typically with meat, and you can make it spicier or
My
use
mom
just
tomato
plain
sauce.
tomato
Tomato
sauce. Tomato
To
sauce,
my mom,
yeah.
that's what she calls a goulash.
Well,
Yeah.
see, to me, what you just described in Rhode Island was American chop suey.
Yeah.
I've heard
Wow.
that. Yeah.
American
you-
chop
and you-
suey.
yeah,
I've never heard
So,
that.
like, if my mother-in-law were to make it, that what you just said, she would say, "We're serving American chop suey."
And
So-
my mom would be goulash.
was that a restaurant or something? Or no?
know.
No,
Johnny
Johnny
Marzetti.
Marzetti.
Yeah,
Yeah, my
we
mom
grew up
called
that.
it. Yeah,
no.
that's just what.
In fact, there was a 4-H recipe when I was
Really?
a kid that was beef corn dandy. I think was the recipe, but it was
Johnny
Johnny
Marzetti.
Marzetti with corn.
I think that
I'm
they
just interested where the
called it
name
that in
came
public
from.
school, so
Yeah,
I don't know
maybe.
if it came from public
interesting.
school. But
I'm
it's
not
a
a Johnny
casserole.
Mnemonic.
It's
like
not
a
spaghetti
casserole
sauce.
that's the same
It's
base.
tomatoes.
Yeah, it's just
tomatoes or tomato
yeah.
sauce, but
Yeah.
not spaghetti
Yeah.
sauce because that's.
So we're going to
different
call
from-
your salsa Candace Bauer.
I love it.
I will have to get it from you to give to Christina Lane since they've never had
Oh,
it because it is like okay.
When you
at
set
all
it
the
up like
co-op-
that, it can only go
all
down.
the co-ops
I know, but
that
I
we
love
have been
salsa.
to, when Candace brings salsa, it's like a
Feeding
elbow
frenzy, yeah.
of the moms.
But you said cilantro when you had me. I'm like, fresh cilantro? Are you growing the cilantro
Yes.
in your
Well,
garden?
so I did for a long time, but here's the problem: cilantro comes and goes before my tomatoes are ever done. So I don't it doesn't reseed itself that fast. It only comes up once a year. So no,
Right.
I almost never got my own cilantro. I would watch it come up and go, and my tomatoes were nowhere close. So I gave that up. So I just buy it now.
So tell us a little bit about your setup. So you are in definitely like downtown Columbus area.
Pretty much near
You do not have like a humongous yard.
on the east side.
Side.
Okay, so what is your yard size? What would you say?
We have a third of an acre. It's the whole yard size is a third of an acre.
Is that
Like
your
the whole
lot size? The whole lot. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're, I
and
only
the
have a
house
little
is
bit
towards
more
the
than
front.
you.
So
Okay.
we have a smaller front and a much bigger back.
Yep.
And it's a rectangle. And the backyard has a patio. It had a silver maple till like a year or two ago. We took it down because of solar panels. And it was ready to go. Like it was having problems. There's 4 pine trees in the far back. There's 2 dwarf apple trees that flank one of the gardens because there's a neighbor's crab apple. So they don't need each other per se, but they can use
like
the
each
crab
other.
in the neighborhood. Yeah.
A shed,
There's a pool, a shed, a swing set,
trampoline.
trampoline.
It sounds like my
Yeah.
yard.
And her
Mine are
patio-
pine trees.
Her patio is like they play basketball. It's not tiny.
Yeah, but it's not.
pretty-
Yeah, it's. If you talk to the boys, it's worthless. It's basically how they
So
feel.
your green space is
It's
small.
very small.
Well, so we have like the length to throw the football.
Okay,
You know what I
right.
mean? And then when the silver maple was up close to the house, so the very first garden came from a sand pit we had for the kids, which I hated. It lasted 1 year and I was all done. I'm like, I did it one time and that's it. I'm all done. It can't come in the house anymore. I laugh when I hear
This
you
is
guys
why
talking
I
about
love
your
her.
stuff in your house. I laugh. I text her when you guys say certain things like you can't be friends with us with this. I'm like, guess we're not friends anymore because I'm like, I'm not doing that. I can't do that. I really
Okay,
love
the
it.
one that shocked me. Aren't you the one who said that you were in Christy's camp where you would have a cook but not someone to clean your house?
No.
What did you
She
say?
was the only one of the group, including me,
Yeah.
that would get a chef.
chef.
Yeah.
But not
I was
Yeah.
all about a maid.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was all about
I knew
that.
it was.
Yeah.
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 I don't know that anyone
I thought she
has
was
agreed
in
with
my
you.
camp.
No.
No.
Okay.
Actually, everyone that has heard that has said to me like, "What is she
is she?
thinking?"
Yeah.
Love to clean. I'm sorry, I'm weird. Yeah.
No, I do, but that's the one thing that I feel like I have failed at the most with older kids. It's dusty. Please don't touch anything because it's all dusty, and you'll just make it obvious that it's dusty.
Well,
like,
even if you dust it, it'll be dusty tomorrow anyway. They
Yeah.
said in my house it's there.
yeah, well, I grew up. We
Always
had to dust
dusting.
every week, but my mom had lots of decorative things out,
Yeah, right.
And we broke a lot. This was all stuff from her mom, her grandma, and her stuff that we broke. And I don't want my kids. I
That's a lot
don't
of
think know how to
pressure.
scrub a tub or dust because I take care of the tub. Like I don't get down on my hands and knees very often and scrub it. But we have a liner. We don't have
Yeah.
tile, and it's very easy to maintain. And all I think of is if they're ever any place where they have to, like, they're going to see gross grow and like built, and they're going to be like, "Mom never taught us how to do this." They can mop the floor like nobody's business,
Yes, they can.
but they won't know how to scrub a tub or dust anything because we don't do that, or they don't do that.
Yeah.
But
All right, your garden.
We've digressed.
sorry. Yeah. So the first one started from the sand pit. So it was a dead
Yeah.
spot,
Yeah.
and I had wanted a garden for a long time. And I think when before Selah was born, or right about that time, that's where I started. Was we dug out that area. And then I want to say by the time my sister-in-law moved in with us and Selah would have been going on 2, that one got enough shade that it was only a partial sun.
Okay.
And so mostly, but partial, because it's south. It faces south. So I said I want a spot that's mostly sun. Now we still have, neighbor trees that can cause that, but nothing like, what the other one was getting. So me and my sister-in-law sat there and hand dug it out one time, and I needed to get past the nursing, which that was the deal with Selah. She was almost 2, and I was done. So I was ready to move forward with a second garden that I thought I could do. So, one is maybe an 8 by 10, and the other one's probably 8 or 10 by 14. And then we ended up putting, like I said, two dwarf apples on either side because they would get enough sun. They wouldn't be too big. They wouldn't be in the way of too much or anything. But, and so back and forth. One year is always all tomatoes and peppers and maybe marigolds around that. Like, we've done different things to keep the animals out. Nothing works as far as I'm concerned, but we do it anyway. And then, we switch them back and forth, and then we'll have all kinds of whatever else is going on. And it partly depends on Austin's 4-H project, because he's the only one that's ever done gardening. So whether it's an edible landscape or how does your garden grow or name it, he's done 4 or 5. And he went to state for one of them eventually. And so he was like, okay, I'm all done. But this year, he's like, there's one I haven't done. And I think it's How Do Your Garden Grow, and it's flowers.
That's what Ashley's doing this year.
So it's flowers. So I ordered a bunch for a fundraiser through the Columbus Crusaders the kids play football with, just a whole bunch of flats so that he can. But he didn't tell me that he wanted to do an American flag. I didn't know that. So that's not what I bought the colors for. So I'm like, you never said that. So anyway, I said, just wait till they come. You can figure it out. I know what I want out front. There's containers, there's a garden, there's lots of things to work into your project, that you'll be able to do. But, So anyway, so that's lots of different things over the years. Asparagus came up for years. Eventually that went by the wayside on its own. The cilantro will, pop up. We do our own, the composting. So all kinds of stuff will pop up, that you don't expect, because it's supposed to get hot enough, but it really doesn't. And it sits all winter before we dump it on the new garden.
How do you compost? Do you have one of the spinning barrels? That's what I thought. Yeah.
But not hand crank. It's body weight. Like, it's on a base, because the hand cranks can break. So it's on the ground on a base. And when it first started out, you can do it no problem. But it gets to the point where I'm climbing on it to get it to turn, because it's so heavy, by September, it's really heavy.
So did you say you switch what you plant in the gardens each year?
Yeah, it depends. Pretty consistently, sugar snap peas are popular, green beans, but you have to string those up, so that's extra work. I'm trying to think what else is pretty consistent. Always some kind of cucumber. So whether it's the cucamelons for fun or bite size, they're not bite size, they're small ones. Yeah, pickling cucumbers or zucchini. And zucchini is always pretty popular. Oh, last year we did loofahs. Oh my gosh, it was gorgeous. It was gorgeous because we have only one garden. Well, till this year we just took it down all the stuff, but it had a fence. And I even covered it with bird netting so that the squirrels and the birds would stay out of it because they're constantly eating everything. I fight everything. And so the loofahs, they vine. So I had them on the edge. That's where, and I always do that. All my viney stuff is on the edge so it can go out into the yard. It doesn't take up my inner space, which Matt hates. But I'm like, you don't mow anyway, so what are you worried about? So I take care of all that. But he's like, it's so dumb. Keep it in the garden. I'm like, no, I have more space when it can go out into the yard. Yeah. So we've had pumpkins. We've had, like 75-pound pumpkins, a couple, like 2. That's all we got off of it because it was 2 75-pounders, but it was fun. Zucchini is popular. The loofah was, like I said, so beautiful. It's bloomed all year. And they're wanting to do it so bad.
Okay, so you have them crawling.
Yeah.
Huh?
You have them crawling up your
So because
fencing?
We had chicken wire, it crawled up.
Right.
So so it did, and I just kept making sure when I went out that if it tried to come in, I would just move it out.
Yeah,
I don't take super extra time. I baby my tomato plants. I will crawl on the ground. I will lay on the ground and make sure that there's no weeds and there's plenty of straw and there's no growth shoots that don't belong. Like, I'll baby those. And I don't like the weeds and things like that, but I won't take the time with anything else like I do with that. So if it has to be climbing, that's extra work. The loofah was easy. I literally could move it and it would climb. And it filled 3 of the 4 sides.
Oh my gosh.
All summer with flowers and you can eat them when they're a few inches, like no more than 6. Yeah, they're like a cucumber. kind of like a
Seriously.
cucumber, up to 6 inches. But past that, they just start to get very fibrous.
Right.
And but they're so cool, and we dried them, and I never washed them, and to sell them. That was my goal, to sell them at a 4-H craft show. I just haven't done that yet, but
We want to make soap with them. So you take them and you dry them, take out all the seeds, and you slice them into like 1.5 inch thick, and then you
Pour your
use a
soap
Pringle
over?
can.
Okay.
Fill them that way, and then fill it with your soap. And then when you break the Pringle can open or whatever it is, then you can slice them. And so you have a bar of soap that has the loofah on the inside. So it's exfoliating soap easy. We've always wanted
4-H craft show idea.
Yeah.
Combine
Only
some
we knew
forces
somebody who
there.
made
Yeah.
soap.
Yep, right. I wish I knew somebody. So I have a bunch of these really cute little goat milk soaps we got, and I can maybe
my
melt them
goodness.
down.
Yes, probably.
Do you do all of your plants in the ground, or do you do any in containers or raised
I don't
beds?
do any. No raised beds. I'd love to because of my age. I would like to do that. I actually just ordered this gorgeous, really cool one with a gate and a top and sides and everything else for like $50. Buy one get one free or something like that. And then on this one site, I was like, this is phenomenal. They said going out of business. And then another site, it just happened to pop up on another site. I'm like, oh, it's selling here too. And the comments on the first one were all positive. The comments on the second one were, this is all a scam. So then I went right into my Apple to reverse it and stuff. And they were able, the company sent me back the money, via Apple. So that Apple didn't just credit it back to me. Oh, wow. So so it was interesting. But anyway, I was really bummed because it was gorgeous, white with a gate and these tip out sides, and it was phenomenal.
And you're
but
like,
it's too good to be true,
$50.
right? I'm like, well, I mean, I even showed it to Matt. Look what I ordered. Like this, and he was half asleep. So, but
Oh my goodness.
Do you steak your tomatoes or cage them?
I cage.
Okay.
I'm a cager.
Okay.
So I have steaks, and I'll use them to support it if I need, because that's what happens. That's like, I'll start out with the cage, and I'll train all my little pieces in, and then I'll start attaching either by string or by zip tie or whatever, and start, to keep them up. And it's hours and hours and hours of labor of love, because I love them so much. Now, last year's the first year that I didn't have time to do that, and Justin was like, I'll put in 7 tomato plants. So, but his definition of weeding is not. So we still had stuff, but that last year was the first year it was only one of the 2 gardens and 7 plants, not 25. So it's just, I was home the least amount, and this year's, I think, even worse. So
What's the easiest to grow?
What do you mean?
Like, if it's somebody who's just starting, who's not familiar with gardens, and they're going to pick like 2 or 3 plants.
I think squash, because it will grow pretty much no matter what. The kicker with squash, zucchini and yellow squash, not so much, but like, I love kabocha squash, which is like, looks a little bit like an acorn, but tastes like a cross between a sweet potato and a potato. It is my favorite. I can eat one whole one. I slice it open, roast it with butter, and it's delicious. But boy, those squash bugs, man. And I even planted later because that supposedly can be, I planted like a month later than everything else. Yeah, they still got it. So, and I've been out there putting mud on squash bud vine, it's so much work. No, not to me. And I don't spray anything. So if something gets it, something gets it. But I try my best. I try to cut off a bad thing. I try to patch it like they tell me to. Do all of the diatomaceous earth, I'll try to do, some of those things. Like when the ants eat my apples, I never get any apples. I mean, I have had the most apples ever the past 2 years, like 24 apples on each tree. I don't get any. Get nothing.
That would happen to us with the cherry trees.
Yeah.
You'd be
Yeah.
watching and watching and watching,
Yeah.
and it's
They all
like they know to the minute. You're like, let's go. I mean, you're getting the buckets and the ladder ready to go, and you're lucky to get a bucket full. The birds are there. They don't even care. They don't even care that you're in the tree. They're eating the cherries.
Yeah. I had a chokeberry bush for a while, and every year I'm like, I'm going to get them this year. I'm going to get them this year. They're almost there. And literally the morning, like the day before, I'd be like, tomorrow's it. And I come out in the morning, they'd be gone.
All gone. Yep.
Yep. And that's what happens to the apples.
It is.
It doesn't matter. I
horrible.
have tied them. I have netted them. I have, yeah. I fight.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother conversation to talk about what I've done to squirrels over the years. Raccoons and such.
They're grounded.
Yeah. They're great. Yeah, they're literally. They're grounded. So.
my goodness.
But yeah, I think squash is easy because it really is very forgiving to grow. It's one of those things you stick in a, dirt or in a bag of water and it'll sprout. So I think they're super forgiving.
Have you found a variety of tomato that's easiest?
I get all mine as starters, and I would say probably like the solid old heirloom are the hardiest because they've been around. The newer ones tend to be more finicky, but I don't care because I like the variety, you know what I mean? It's rare that I have a tomato, like I try to keep a list every year and I'll be like, not this one again. Whether it did not give very much or I didn't like the flavor, which would be really unusual. Something would have to be really off-putting about it because I like the variety. Or it just seemed a disease easy, like it was so susceptible to extra rain or so susceptible to the heat, and tomatoes don't like a ton of water and they do like a ton of heat, but there's a balance. You can kill it either way. So like when we're at the fair, that's usually when I have the hardest time because I can't babysit the tomatoes, and it's usually hotter than the dickens, and nobody wants to go out and water anything and nobody wants to obey and, water under. They want to just spray everything, spray the foliage, and of course, me, and I'm so, can you please stop watering the foliage? I let the whole neighborhood know, stop! What
I was like, that's so sweet. That's how you say it.
No, that's Elaine.
Elaine's the gentle parent out of all of us. Yeah.
I tell my kids, have a mother-in-law that's sweet. It's not your mom.
Oh my goodness.
Please. Oh my goodness.
Said they exist. No. You just didn't get one. The Lord didn't bless.
Oh my goodness.
You're insane. Okay. Do you have a favorite, Elaine?
Do I have a favorite? It's tomatoes. Like, hands down, it's tomatoes.
Do you have a favorite tomato?
I don't know the name of it, but I do have the seeds. It's that heirloom one that gets big and it has like yellow striping through it. I forget what that's called. Do you know what I'm talking about?
There's a lot of them.
Well, they
there's a mortgage lifter variety that looks like that, but
what is
not really yellow. Mortgage lifter is what it's.
I don't know. I just saw the picture and I got those. But no, tomatoes are great. We love the tomatoes. I think we also, because we get so much of it.
I'm trying companion planting with my tomatoes this year, and I'm doing basil with them. I've never done that. We've always had a separate herb garden, so.
I'm companion planting too.
Are you?
I'm doing lettuce with my tomatoes. Because the tomatoes get so large, and then it helps shade the lettuce that tends to wilt from the heat, so I'm planting lettuce between my tomatoes.
You have a salad garden going on.
Yes, exactly.
But see, then I can't crawl.
Yeah.
See, that I've always wanted to make companion plant. I've always wanted to do it, but I crawl through my rows. So I just have a hard time.
Listen, I am not that dedicated.
If I believed about coming back as plants, I'd want to be one of Candace's tomatoes.
Yeah.
Because, no, we haven't even started what happens in the kitchen with the tomatoes. Because you don't just randomly let the tomato grow. She watches every tomato.
Did you send me a picture of her last year of her process of what she does, how she lets them ripen?
Yes. So now your rabbit's there now, but before your rabbit was there, you had a bay window and you would pick, and they'd be all in process.
Yeah, if they fell or got picked early, or I was certain an animal was going to get it right before. I try to let it ripen on the vine. I prefer it that way. But if they eat too many of them, I get so mad, and
Who's
I'll be
they? Who are we talking about? It's squirrels. See, and where we live, it's rabbits. There are rabbits everywhere.
We have lots of rabbits.
And forget if my chickens get out; they'll just peck my tomatoes.
Where I live,
to
it's
death.
a boxer named Trooper. We've always had boxers. They love tomatoes. He'll just go out and help himself. Yes,
Barney.
And you get fed. Please stop.
Yeah, we have to fuss at Barney. He's a tomato fan, and his gas is really bad.
Really just describe my boxer.
Yeah, really bad. Barney pug.
But you pick and then you turn them over. I've seen you do that. You lay them out and then she rotates to turn the tomato while they're laying there.
Because they'll rot.
Make sure that they
get too much heat on one side.
All the
But that's to
We
save
do when it falls
them.
off.
So
Yes.
when they don't need sun in that bay
Right,
window, I put them on the dining room table. But see, if I don't know the variety, I label them. So I've used boxes, I've used sticky notes, but I don't like to ever not know. You
Right.
know, I want to know. You know, I don't know why. It's so dumb. Nobody ever comes to me and is like, I really loved that one. You know, it never happens. So why I do?
Because
Yeah.
we do taste testing. You tell
Yeah,
me
that's
what
true.
they are.
It's fun
And
to do that.
Super exciting
Yeah.
to taste them all because they are very different.
Yeah,
Which is
there's
surprising.
high acid, low acid, sweet. You know, it's just.
I
it's
love
so
this.
much
I've
fun.
never done this
Yeah.
though, but like my salsas, whatever is ready is salsa,
Right,
and so it
right.
gets blended.
Yep.
And because I like restaurant style salsa,
Yes.
so I like it like
But me too.
So
But
bones
hers
do go on
is-
salsa, and I do like both. I mean, I do like both, and I would eat it, and I wouldn't waste it. It would have to be something wrong. I just, when I sit and eat it with a spoon or chips or pork rinds when I'm behaving, I like that toothiness. It's a toothiness. So I'm not super picky and weird, but there are things I prefer. So something recent, I made homemade vanilla pudding with duck eggs from a friend of Matt's, and I grew up with little bits of egg in it because my mom didn't make sure that all of the white came off the yolk. That's where it comes from. It's not,
Right.
you would have to really mess it up for the
Right.
yolk to cook.
Yeah.
It's the bits
Yeah.
of white. To me, it's not vanilla pudding without that. You know, I love that. In fact, I made a batch and I was like, oh, no yellow, no pieces of egg. And I got halfway through and I was like, oh, there's so many. So it's not intentional,
Yeah.
but I don't make sure I clean that whole thing off, you know, and so.
But I've had
so it's
times
just one
that
of
my
those things,
salsa's been
two
like the best, and we're like, "What did we do?" Well, I don't know because
No.
I
Don't
don't.
know,
I'm not
'cause you-
measuring the acid
Right.
of like what
Right.
tomato. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm not babying
I make
it.
sure I have
hear
bags
what.
of each,
Yeah,
and I squeeze it in, and I taste it, and I add salt, and really, 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 to me, it's salt. It's the salt and the acid because the cilantro is fine and the garlic is fine. You know what I mean? Those are fine and they're necessary, but the two kickers are the salt. And if you make it too salty, you don't want to eat a chip with it, but you need it salty enough you can eat it by yourself. I do it for me. Although I share, I do it for me. If I can sit there and eat it, I'm good. It's good, you know?
I share.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to
I do
video-
share.
We're gonna have to take a video of you making salsa.
Oh.
I think we should do keeping in the theme that we had there a couple episodes ago. We should just do like a fleet of salsas
Oh yeah,
or tomatoes,
right? Yes, it'll be delicious.
I've
and
never
Candace
done
can be
those.
like, "This is high acid. This is low acid. Smell this one."
Live cooking with Candace.
Yeah, there we go. Live cooking with Candace. So, other than the loofah, have you trellised anything else?
Cucumbers.
And how do you trellis those? What are you using? Are you doing that on
Chicken wire
on the
or
fencing as
tomato
well?
cage. Chicken wire or tomato cage. I don't think I've done string for string beans and sugar snaps, like actual little posts of string that I run across. But the cucumbers will do fine down, just like a tomato will lay down, you know, but I don't want them on the ground. I want them up.
Right.
And they're easier to get to and get more sun and stuff like that. Yeah.
You bring that
All the
down if
things,
they're not
yeah.
laying there on the ground.
Yeah. So tomato cages is my number one way to do
Okay.
it until we fenced in one, and then that made it easy to attach, you know, to those. So
What did you fence in with? Just like
chicken wire and not 2x1. Well, I'm going to call it a 1x1. I'm sure that's not correct, but like a 1/2x1s.
Yeah.
Matt did it.
Oh, yeah.
And then I put,
probably like
but
what
I
we
was bound and determined nothing was getting in there. So the chicken wire slightly laid down on the ground. So I stoned it all the way around, bricks, whatever, mostly bricks, but
Right.
some decorative stone too. And then the posts that Matt put up were, you know, stuck up high enough. He was going to cut them, and I'm so glad he didn't, because that's when I got that bird netting, and I draped it over. And so then there's no door, so I had to.
I was just going to ask.
Yes,
Do you have
no,
a gate? Like,
no,
or
I had-
are you like crawling under the fencing and then under your tomato plants?
Very embarrassing, but there's a corner that I would attach up on a screw, crawl in, do my thing, and then come back out, and I would have to like
I'm
brick it back down.
understanding now why your kids are watering with the hose. though.
Right?
That was a hard one, for sure.
Under the fence.
They fit better. I'm like, y'all fit better than I
the size
do.
of your boys. They're
No,
tall.
well, not now. Yeah, no. And I tried like doing the hoses, like before we ever did that, because that's only been a couple. Like I think the one by the house was fenced for a year or two, and then that
You mean
one
like
came
the soaking
down.
hoses?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I tried that, and it just never seemed quite right. So it's definitely user error. Not. But I tried. That was my goal. I had them all up and down the aisles, and we had a rain barrel for years until we just got our gutters replaced. So I'm not cutting holes in it right now, so it's just gonna have to wait. But I had rain barrel for years that we used to do the one. Not the other one, because it was just enough pressure to run gravity down. But yeah, so. Yeah.
So straw. You using straw?
Always.
Okay. Anything else to keep the weeds out? Are you using that black? What do you call it?
Never have.
That
Use
stuff?
the landscaping fabric.
Okay.
I have it.
That's better than that stuff.
But I have it, and I'm trying to think. We used it at church even to keep weeds down. My pastor and his wife, before they retired and moved, helped us do it one time. And I mean, it's fine, but I just didn't want to poke the hole. Like it just seemed. I have done fine with what we've done, and it's not necessarily perfect, but I really enjoyed my time out there until last year. Last year was the first time I just didn't have the time to get out there. I now have 2 very fluffy squares because they're full of spring weeds. Nothing's
You
ready.
think fluffy, and
They're
I'm
fluffy.
like, did she get dogs?
Yeah,
Is that why
they're
she couldn't garden last year?
they're fluffy.
You're very fluffy.
Her boys. And I was like, where are we going with this?
Fluffy boys.
So, yeah. So, and now that we have a rabbit, we some used to take her stuff out to the bin, to the recycler, to the compost bin, but until we dump that, it just goes right in the garden. So now I can't just crawl around. Now I have to wear special shoes and gloves because there's rabbit poo throughout, and all her food is full of stuff, so it grows extra stuff by throwing it out there.
Oh, is that funny? That never even occurred to me.
Yeah.
It's constant. For a while, it took me a minute. I'm like, why do I have more weeds and more odd stuff? Why do I have all kinds of stuff that I've never had before? And then I was like,
That is a good thing to consider. I never thought
Yeah.
of that. We've done that before.
Yeah. You can get that with, hay, straw. What is common to put down between the straw and the hay? What's a thing?
Well, you
one
put,
you do
put
and
the
one you
straw
don't.
because we did.
Yeah,
my
straw goes
husband
down.
did hay
is for
once,
feed.
and all of a
It'll
sudden,
grow.
hay started growing and took over the garden.
Yeah.
So you don't use hay.
Okay. Yeah.
Because the seeds drop.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there you go. But straw. Absolutely.
Because I think I've done hay before.
Uh-huh.
Like, thought I was
It's a
doing something
nightmare.
really fantastic.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got from a
We've done it.
special. Yeah. And I was like, what?
What
on
is
earth
this?
have I done? Like my nightmare come true. I put all this down, and I have green, all everywhere. So I think that
So
happened.
don't use hay.
I've never
Yeah.
done that, but I have Papa, so he would have
Yeah.
never allowed that. Girl, what are you doing?
We don't know.
Yes.
I mean, we know now. We didn't know anything before. So composting. Have you always done your own compost, and have you always used compost in your garden?
No.
No.
Not until Columbus started this like going green type of program where you could get one for free based on taking a quiz online for
Oh, wow.
like recycling and habitat type of stuff.
Right.
Take a quiz online to get a $50 like rebate, and that's how much the rain barrels are from Columbus Green Spot. And then they also send you like this little thing, put in your window that you're a Columbus Green Spot member. Well, I was afraid if I didn't, they'd like come take my rain barrel or something. So I put in my window. Yes, I promised
It's really
to shut
just a
off the lights. I
conspiracy.
don't use right, But I was like, hey, it's worth it. It's only this big. Nobody's gonna really know. But so years we had that thing. Okay, so Selah is getting ready to turn 12. That's how long we've had the second garden, and not too long after the rain barrel. It would have been very close to the same time that this all started. So they even upped it to 100 at one time, and like that's where I got my 2 apple trees, my chokeberry bush. I have 2 princess
And this is Columbus that does
Columbus.
all this? Oh,
It's
we don't
very
live
it's
in
called
Columbus.
the Green Spot or Going Green Spot or
Wow.
something like that. Green Spot, Columbus Green Spot. And it's pretty cool, but I haven't taken advantage for a couple of years either. I had nothing else to put anywhere, So, but yeah, so using the rain barrel, using the composter I got. My husband's brother used to own a place called the Going Green store in Newark, and he doesn't have it anymore, but he does now does like Going Green products like through restaurants, like the stuff that will disintegrate in the
Biodegradable.
landfill. Yeah, biodegradable. Thank you. But that's where I got it. It was like $150 one, so I only had a $50 coupon, for it. But I got it. He gave me his price on it, so I got this nice big one. I already had researched, knew exactly what I wanted because I didn't want to hand crank, and I didn't, all these things. So anyway, I got a really nice one that likely won't fall apart easily. It's a rubber or plastic tub on a base on the ground, and it has wheels on. Some part of it has wheels, but we just roll it over to the garden and open it up. And one year we had it out there for Easter, and that's where we hid one of the eggs, and that was the golden egg. So anybody wanted it, they had to get it out of the compost bin.
Well, I did ask because I might have a friend who was supposed to start a compost pile a while ago and didn't. That would be me. But if I didn't do that, what would you recommend using in lieu of your own compost to get the most out of your garden?
No, I didn't put anything else down. No.
So you wouldn't do anything.
No.
You would just...
So that wonderful thing that was like $50, it had these spots that you put in it to put your scraps right in it so that they just went right into your soil, which I thought you didn't have to add them in as you built it, but they're just these like cylinders with, like holes that were it was fantastic. I just thought it was wonderful. But for a long time, I didn't do anything. And last year I didn't empty my compost because we just had the 7 plants. So I didn't empty it onto it. And it's fine. I like the idea of amending the soil with my trash. I don't want to buy somebody else's trash. I'm not like that. I'm not putting that down. I'm just saying I'm not going to go that extra step. I'm fine with what I have. We have clay soil. So we've, amended it for years with... like the one with the sand, that one was awesome. That one was softer, quicker because it already had sand in it. But, and I really, really, really want to garden lasagna layer. I don't want to till anymore. I have a big tiller from my dad that I tilled for years. We've hand tilled, me and Austin, many times, hand tilled. But that tiller and my wrists now, that thing tips over and I about go with it, and it's just so heavy and big. Right. And the hand one is hard on my wrists now too.
What's lasagna layering?
You do not till. You just keep throwing your leaves and
cardboard.
and it just breaks down on its own.
All your yard waste goes out there. We did that
for 2 years. We had a tarp in the bag, and we just were sticking cardboard under there and stuff, and then we are using it finely.
Yeah.
This year. So we'll see how it goes.
Composting just in my yard, and I fenced it. Everything ate it. Like it was silly. Silly. All I did was fed
all the neighborhood raccoons are like, hey, let's head over here for dinner.
I thought this was going to be a good idea, and it is not a good idea. It was dumb.
It was like the neighborhood soup kitchen for the animals.
Yeah.
I've seen the Back to Eden, and I keep thinking I'm going to claim a small corner of our garden and maybe try it, which is,
I would love to do that. I would love to do that. So, and I, in our front beds, we have all our leaves that come down. We have a giant tricolor beech that drops a bunch. And so I keep it all in the bed. Matt hates it because he doesn't like the leaves.
Yeah.
But we put the leaves down, and then every 2 years we mulch on top. So we do mulch every 2 years. And my next door neighbor, who has gorgeous beds, but she's full of weeds all the time. She's like, and every year she's like, I don't understand why I have so many weeds. And I'm like, because you don't keep the leaves. She doesn't have a tree up front. They hate, she hates that she gets leaves. I'm like, I make my kids go break her stuff out of her yard. She's not hateful, but I feel bad, And so this 2 years ago, she's like, okay, the leaves that went in our yard, we'll leave them there. I said, leave them, put mulch on it. And then her husband didn't know we made that agreement, and he cleaned them all out. So this past year, it happened again. I'm like, you want to leave them, tell Ron not to rake them all up. So this time they didn't. And I got on her about the mulch when it went on sale. So she ordered it. So she's got mulch coming in, a bunch of leaves in there. And, she's setting herself up. We just do it all the time that we don't have that problem, So all that wonderful feed, natural feed, and we mulch cut the grass. It just goes right back into it. I always think I was telling you when we walked up, she was like, oh, the grass is so pretty. And I said, yeah, our front yard finally looks like that because we started spraying again in the front. But that's because Matt was like, "Are you done eating the dandelions? Because our yard looks terrible." And so I'm like, "Okay." So we don't spray the back where the kids and the dog and the rabbits and everything are back there. We still, and he wants to. I'm like, leave it alone. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine out there. You have your front yard with no dandelions. Just let it be.
It's the need to, take dominion and be dandelion free.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, but you haven't planted yet then?
No. So
Are
we
you
have the
planting this
plants.
weekend?
The flowers are coming this Wednesday. And then the lady that has her sale had her Mother's Day sale. And so, and
I
she.
need said lady's name.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
already
She's
gonna look
included.
it up
I'll pass it along.
I want these. What are they called? Cucumber melons?
I already asked her. They're gone. What? Yep, she said they didn't germinate well. They already sold out.
But
yeah,
it's
because
not,
I had somebody ask for them
can
already.
you direct sow those like any other cucumber?
I would think.
So it's not
I would
too-
think it's viney.
Yeah,
so I would think.
it's not too late. Just get seeds
Yeah.
and direct. I
know.
always direct
Listen,
sow my
I'm not the
cucumbers.
garden director in my house, so I can say all these things. and then
Rachel,
the person
buy
in
the
charge will
seeds.
say, we're not
Buy
doing
the
that.
seeds and
Yeah.
direct
Yes.
sow them. I've never not direct sowed my cucumbers.
Okay.
They come up so quickly.
And I may not plant till Memorial Day because I don't have the time. I have so many caterings to do. And
Did you plant, Christy?
We are on our third or fourth round of corn. He always starts corn like in April, and it either takes or it doesn't. And then we have peppers, potatoes, zucchini, tomatoes. Shelby and Mitchell had extra cherry tomatoes, so they gave us a
Awesome.
couple plants. I've got to work in the herb garden and get the basil planted. But yeah, I think that's it so far.
Did you plant, Elaine?
I did. We have a lot going on right now. We have our tomato plants in, but we're supposed to get like frost maybe Wednesday night into Thursday, so I have to cover. Yes, they did this whole
I don't
frost
like
warning.
you right now.
I'm sorry. My father-in-law
Mother's Day.
sent
Like,
me
that is not
Wednesday. I think the low going into Thursday is like 40, but it might dip down. So they're saying bring your plants in or cover them. So I have to cover them. But I have a lot of containers going on. All my peppers are in containers. I have these tall stackable units going on that I have herbs in there, and I top them with flowers because they look pretty. We planted potatoes. We're doing 5-gallon bucket potatoes, and Eli took a little small section, and he said, I'm going to be a potato farmer now. So he didn't like the bucket. He wanted to dig in the earth and do that. So we already planted those. So all my herbs are already in their containers. And this year we are utilizing our chain link fence. That's why I'm asking the crawling ones.
Yeah.
So basically my whole chain link fence is lined with like pumpkins, and I'm doing anything that crawls. It's going to be quite interesting. I have no neighbor right now, so I have no one that can complain about that. But, but I figured, why not? So I'm using my whole fence. There are plants everywhere. They're on my patio. They're in the garden. They're in containers. They're in beds. They're just everywhere.
we have chain link fence, and so we both gardens are within a foot of a chain link fence on either side.
Yeah.
So thankfully we've had very lovely neighbors, and I try to, and the one before she passed away, I'm like, whatever's over there, you're welcome to eat it. And she's like, I eat a tomato a week. I'm like, take it, and then the other one, when my stuff would grow from the compost bin, he would whack it, and we get along great. But he's got all these tomatoes coming through, and so I don't blame him. But I would tell his wife loved my tomatoes. She's allowed to come in anytime. And I'd be like, hey, there's a bunch of tomatoes out there, and they'd be like, oh, they're gone now. Sorry, I got them down. But I love the chain link. Love my own stuff.
I haven't done that against a chain link fence, and all of a sudden
awesome.
it occurred to me, what? I keep thinking, where can I put trellises in my yard? And then I looked outside. I'm like, I have a whole.
They're already
chain-
made for you.
They're already there. So even like the raspberry bushes you got me, or against the chain link fence, and we planted the 2 peach trees that I got for my birthday. They're in there. I did hear something, and now I'm dying to try it. It's planting those big sunflowers, and then once they've grown a little bit, I don't know, not much, maybe a foot, couple feet, whatever, you can then plant, I guess, beans or another vine thing, and they will actually crawl up the sunflower, and they're stocky enough to hold that. So
That's cool.
I think I want to do that
That'd
too.
be
That's what
fun.
the Native Americans did, but it was green beans with corn, typically.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I've
But
done the sunflower house for the kids.
that is adorable.
Yeah. Where you do them in a circle, and then once they get big enough, you can kind of take them
I'll
in.
put them together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do none of these things. This is a great conversation. I have hordes of plants in my house.
You
They're
have
all
a daughter
between.
who
Yes.
loves
They're
it all
between
so much.
6 to
though.
like
that's her.
literally a foot
Yeah.
tall. These plants are humongous. She came home from vacation. Her dad's job was to water them with like these flats. I mean, they're just humongous. She has hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of plants. It's insane.
How exciting.
And so your sweet son, on Saturday
I know.
is coming over, and they're gardening.
I know. It is a
they're-
darn good thing that he helped with my garden before saying, can
Yeah.
I leave on Saturday
He
to
was
go do
smart.
someone else's garden?
Smart man.
Yeah.
So we're giving her one of our old goat pastures that's no longer in use. We're giving her a different piece of the land than she had last year. And it should be like she wants to buy a bunch of stuff to put on it, but we have so much compost, it's not even funny. So I've told her to just use that. It's
Yeah.
free. But honestly, like what she's planting in should be so nutrient rich because we've had goats on it for 5 years. Like what they've left is all there. And we have lots of fencing around it that she can trellis on. So she has, I don't know, it's probably like half an acre that she's planting
Did somebody
That's
plow it, or did she
insane.
till it? What did she do?
She has done nothing yet, but she
Okay.
has a tiller.
Okay.
So on this part that she did last year, she sod cut and then tilled. But I don't think she's going
Jared
to do
just
it this year.
loved sod
Yes.
cutting.
It was awesome.
Hard
What I
work.
think is
Yeah.
funny is
Yes.
her garden is the size of my whole lot. A half an acre.
yes. Yeah, it's huge.
She doesn't do anything small.
No,
The
she
girl is
doesn't.
all in.
But half of it is flowers. I will
Yeah.
say this: like her goal is to have a flower business, and since her sister just got engaged and needs to have summer flowers, she has been preparing the flowers for sister's wedding in August. So,
I'll have zinnias too.
oh, speaking of which, we didn't even. That's what we should have opened with.
I was surprised you didn't.
I was
didn't
too.
want to say it.
I was. We were talking about Paris pastries,
yeah.
and
But
you were talking
your
about how she
son-
wasn't sick, and I thought, well, could it be that she was engaged?
Yeah.
Like she
And,
went
and you
from-
bring up like baguettes.
I know. I didn't think about it. I didn't
So
think
go
about
ahead.
it.
Say.
Well, it's okay. So when we were in Europe, in Paris, Elaine's son, Caden, surprised Lauren, my daughter, in Paris, and they're engaged.
I know.
So yeah,
It's crazy and lovely and wonderful and crazy.
It is, and
But
crazy.
what I was so wonderful is that you were kind enough to FaceTime.
Oh, yes.
My husband and I. So although we were not there, we were there, and I casted it to the TV. So all the children, we all watched it, and it was very
it's comical to watch.
It was comical to watch.
Sort of an iconic.
Yeah.
It was pretty crazy. But then as soon as it's done,
yeah.
Cyrus looked at me. Now he's the youngest. He's 6, and he goes, "That's great. Caden's marrying Lauren. Oh no, that means he's moving out." And I was
right.
like, "Yeah."
And what's the
Kinda how
next
that
thing?
works.
What my kids say whenever this
Can
has
I get
happened?
their room?
Can I have their room?
Oh yes.
Okay, I am at Lowe's. No, I'm not. It was Home Depot. I happen to like Home Depot better. But I'm at Home Depot buying some soil from my containers. And my children and adult daughter are bickering in the aisle about Caden's room. And they're just
Yes.
going on and on and on. And I'm like, guys, like, it's my decision, not yours. And there is a gentleman hearing the whole thing. And he is just like chuckling to himself. And like, the 19-year-old is debating with the 8-year-old, and like they're just all arguing on who is getting Caden's room.
Well,
That's a hot
Caden's room was
topic.
originally supposed to be the guest room, right? It wasn't even
It
supposed to be
was.
Caden's
It
room.
was, and he just stole it.
I was gonna say, if the other siblings were smart and watched how this worked out,
Yeah.
you say nothing.
You just move
move
your
in
stuff
stealthily.
in.
It's
Yes.
squatters' rights. At our house, it's like if you squatted in there, it becomes you're like Caden just suddenly brought his bedding up,
He
and
was like, I
suddenly
gotta
his
do
clothes
school
were
in here. Yeah.
We had the same thing. We got home like late Friday night. I saw my little girls on Saturday, and Saturday night as I'm going to bed, Sophie and Ellie come in and they're like, "Mom, we have it all figured out." And I'm like, "About what?" And Sophia's like, "I'm gonna keep this room, and Ellie's gonna move into Lauren's."
Did you
And
feel
I'm like,
the love? Did you feel the love? My girls are always appalled at
not
like,
doing anything.
you're already discussing it?
Yeah.
So that's how we roll
Yes.
here. We reclaim heritage by our,
Reclaiming bedroom.
and marrying. Our
engaged.
children are getting married, and
Yes.
and
So
gardening.
I'm sure
and
that our
all
future
that stuff.
episodes will have lots of antics of us planning a wedding quickly and
And I got a much closer piece of the engagement than I anticipated because Austin was walking around on the phone and he's like, hey, they're engaged. I'm like, oh, great. When did you find out? And he's like, I'm on the phone with Michael right now. They're there. And I was like, hang up that phone. What is wrong with you? Hang it up.
Okay, seriously though, every time I couldn't find my son, he was on the phone with Austin or FaceTiming Austin. They're just soulmates.
Is that what you call it?
Thank you.
We're looking into
take
therapy.
me out of the equation, please? I would love
Did
that.
I tell you this, Lauren? More than one person messaged me and
There's a
they
word for
thought
it.
that he proposed to you at Kings Island in front of the Eiffel Tower. I'm not even joking.
Audacity.
And then they would all say, and then I looked closer and I was like, wait, they're actually in
Oh my God.
Kings Island. Yep. Kings Island, Eiffel Tower. Sophia's like, that's what I would have done.
I didn't even know they had that.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Oh, well, thank you for joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed our guest, Candace Bauer. Always a treat.
I enjoyed being here.
I have a feeling that we're going to convince you to come back.
With my salsa?
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
That's what we'll do.
Bring
Live,
salsa.
live taste testing.
Yeah, you like the ASMR stuff.
Yes, that's awesome. Well, as always, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We love reading your comments and reviews. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me.